The Knicks haven't officially locked in their starting lineup yet, but one thing is clear. Josh Hart isn't shy about his intention. He recently made it very clear that he sees himself as a starter in this league, and he wants that role. Now, here's the thing. Training camp is underway. The team is working hard. Players are competing. And Mike Brown, the head coach, hasn't fully finalized the starting five yet. But in a move that caught a lot of attention, it seems Hart might not be starting out of the gate. During practice, Mike Brown essentially confirmed the tentative starting lineup, and Hart wasn't included. I'm telling you, this created a lot of chatter, and it's exactly the kind of situation that the Sports Center panel broke down in detail, giving us insight into what this means for both Hart and the Knicks. Hart, as always, was very professional in his approach. According to Steph Bondi from the New York Post, Hart put it perfectly. "I had the best year of my career last year, but that's in the past. I think I'm a starter in this league. I think I deserve to be a starter. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for the team. Last year, I talked about sacrifice and being a good steward of my gifts. It would be extremely selfish for me to demand a starting role. Whatever Mike wants to do, I'm cool with it. Time will tell, and I'll figure it out." I loved hearing that because, right off the bat, it sounded like he was making a case for himself, but in a very team-first way. Josh Hart knows his value, and the numbers back it up. When he starts, he's effective. He impacts the game in multiple ways: defense, hustle plays, and leadership on the floor. But here's the reality. Coming off the bench might actually allow him to have an even bigger impact for this Knicks team. The panel pointed out that this isn't about ego. It's about maximizing what Hart can do for the team in the current setup. Part of the challenge is that Hart is not at full health coming into the season. He re-injured his finger, and for a player like him, even a small injury can change the way he handles the ball, shoots, or finishes around the rim. The panel made a really good point. If your shooting is already a concern, and you're carrying a finger injury, starting may not be the optimal way to use Hart's skill set. Coming off the bench, he can bring the same energy, same defense, and same leadership, while mitigating the risk of him being exposed in certain matchups or situations. What's even better about this situation is Hart's attitude. He has no ego here. He's not complaining. He's not demanding. He's simply saying, "I'll do what's best for the team." That's exactly the kind of mentality the Knicks want in their locker room. The panel emphasized that this shows leadership and maturity. Hart understands that winning is more important than individual accolade, and he's willing to embrace whatever role helps the team succeed. Now, speaking of roles, the panel also dove into what Mike Brown had to say about the starting lineup. Brown, during a recent press conference, made it clear that he's expanding the Knicks' rotation to 9 or 10 players. He emphasized that it's too early to fully commit to the top 5, and that the starting lineup will materialize organically over the course of training camp. Brown explained, "The front office did a fantastic job putting together a talented and deep roster, and so you have to have a methodical approach when it comes to saying, 'Hey, these guys are going to start.' Ideally, it would be great to have everybody's role defined before the first game. Roles can change throughout the season, but hopefully going into Game 1, we, as coaches, will get to the point where everybody's role is clearly defined and embraced." That part really stood out to me because it highlights how deliberate the Knicks are being this year. They aren't just throwing a lineup together, they're testing rotations, giving players like Hart a chance to compete, and making sure everyone understands their responsibility. The Sports Center panel made a key observation. This isn't a slight to Hart. It's a strategic decision. The team wants to make sure the starters, bench pieces, and role players all complement each other. And in a season where every game counts, having clarity on roles from day one can be a massive advantage. This is really an important point to highlight. And honestly, I couldn't be happier hearing Mike Brown say this. Maybe he doesn't have the starting 5 fully locked in yet, but the fact that he's prioritizing having every player's role clearly defined before Game 1 is huge. That gives us a timeline, and more importantly, it gives us insight into what the Knicks are actually doing during training camp. It's not just about running plays or practicing defensive rotations. They're taking the time to ensure everyone knows exactly what their role is. By the time the season tips off, Nobody should be guessing what they're supposed to do on the floor. That's exactly the kind of methodical, disciplined approach I want to see from Mike Brown, and it's impressive that he's implementing it right from day one. That said, Brown did admit he's still figuring out who the official starting five will be. But then, as training camp kicked off, Sports Illustrated gave us some early intel, and it's worth noting. According to their reports, Brown has a versatile rotation, which gives him multiple options to experiment with the lineup. Observers at the first organized practice, which came shortly after Media Day, got a glimpse of how he's thinking about the starters and the bench. Now, I want to caution everyone here. Yes, the jerseys we're seeing in practice don't mean the final starting five is set in stone. Every day of camp, things shift, guys rotate, colors change, but still, these early looks are meaningful. On day one, the lineup that hit the floor as the starters featured a balanced mix of playmakers, shooters, defenders, and interior presence, capped off by one very tall guy, Mitchell Robinson. That's right, Mitchell Robinson. And while, as Mike Brown emphasized, this is just the first iteration of what could be a fluid situation and will likely shift from day to day, it already tells us something significant about the coaching staff's thinking. The Knicks are clearly leaning toward a starting five that may not include Josh Hart in the traditional role. And let me be clear, this is absolutely not a knock on Hart. He is one of the most energetic, versatile, and impactful players on this roster, and his contributions are undeniable. But if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, his most influential role may always have been designed for the second unit, coming off the bench to provide a spark, to lead the reserves, and to change the pace of the game when the starters sub out. Last season, Hart started in part because Robinson was sidelined with injury, which forced the team into an adjustment. Had the big guy been fully healthy from day one, we likely would have seen a different approach entirely, a double big alignment that prioritized interior defense, rebounding, and matchup versatility right from the tip. That context is crucial because it helps us understand why the coaching staff might see Hart's energy and skill set as better suited to the bench, where he can maximize impact without disrupting the team's starting rhythm. In other words, this isn't about diminishing his role. It's about optimizing it for both his strengths and the team's overall performance. And now it seems that, barring surprises, we're going to see Mitchell Robinson start this season, which is exactly what I want to see. I know a lot of Knicks fans feel the same way. Josh Hart is phenomenal. His energy is unmatched, and he's critical to this roster. But having him as the sixth man allows him to maximize his impact. He can lead the second unit, provide elite defense, drive momentum, and keep the starters fresh. Strategically, it's the right move. To add even more context, the panel on SportsCenter also broke down the team's positioning in the broader NBA picture. FanDuel, our channel sponsor, released updated odds on who's expected to win the Atlantic Division this season. The Knicks are favorites by a wide margin at -270, with the 76ers trailing at +600, the Celtics at +750, Raptors at +200, and the Nets at a staggering +25,000. That dominance in the odds underscores the urgency of getting rotations and roles right. If the Knicks are going to compete for not just the Atlantic Division, but potentially make a deep playoff run, they need to optimize player deployment. So here's my take, and what the panel reinforced. The starting lineup absolutely needs to reflect the team's strengths and maximize efficiency. That means Mitchell Robinson starting, Josh Hart coming off the bench, and everyone else understanding their responsibilities inside and out. Hart's contributions are invaluable, but the smartest move is putting him where he can make the biggest difference. It's not personal, it's strategic. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Josh Hart declaring he sees himself as a starter? Should he remain in the starting five? Or do you agree with what seems to be the emerging strategy with Mitchell Robinson starting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is exactly the kind of debate that makes following the Knicks so exciting. And with that, we're wrapping up this segment. If you enjoyed this breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe for more updates. For now, Knicks fans, take care of yourselves, your families, and keep cheering for the team. Peace, and see you next time.